turn it right over to Jake.
Hi, everybody. My name is Jake Rohn, and I'm very excited to be here today in front of you all. My colleagues and I, Steve Blakely and Frederick Marks, sitting in the front here, are the three co-founders, three musketeers of a company called Capiche, which is a new mobile video interpreting platform that is just coming and being delivered to the market literally as we speak. A little bit of background. I call this a bit of a deja vu moment for me and probably for my partner Steve. We're technologists at heart. We spent the last 12 years really seeing a lot of what we're seeing here play out in a parallel way in the market of the independent financial advisor. And it sounds like probably a profession that has nothing to do with you and interpretation. But in reality, when in 1999 we founded a different company, a different technology company, they sat in rooms like this talking about the same type of issues you're talking about right now. How do I grow my business? How do I reach more clients? How do I save myself all of the inefficiencies and difficulties and hassles that come with my profession? And a part of that answer, we think, is good technology. Capiche came about last year as Frederick Marks, who happens to also own a mid-level translation organization, translation agency. Our two sons are very good friends, and they were wrestling each other in the pool one day, and it was a beautiful Saturday afternoon, and he had a very concerned look on his face. And I said, Frederick, what are you thinking about? And he said, well, yesterday at work, I had a large opportunity come in for an interpretation project in Los Angeles. A Japanese interpreter was needed, and it was for Monday morning, and I couldn't find an interpreter anywhere. And I said, well, what happened? Well, it looks like the deposition's going to be moved out. I've lost probably the business. The client and the lawyer are put out, and they're inconvenienced by this. And I said, well, why isn't there an app or a software package, a platform you can go to find interpreters? Well, not really. So he said, well, I think there's an idea here. And we started talking, and probably about 3 beers later, we had formed the conclusion that there was something really worth talking about. We then spent about 3 months really doing serious R&D, looking at the market, understanding what the needs were, talking to a lot of interpreters. We sort of buddied up with the AAIT in Atlanta, which is part of the large organization. And then at the end of the year, we really started to put this together as an organization. I think one of the things that we think a lot about in terms of how to do this, and this comes a little bit from our background having done this before, was that an industry has a way of operating. And a lot of people talk about disruptive technology, and I don't think anybody who is on the receiving end of that term really likes the word disrupt. I mean, nobody wants to be disrupted. Disruption has a very negative connotation to it. In fact, we think that the key to this is to build a technology platform that really fits within the way an interpreter does business in the real world for on-site interpreting. And can we match a lot of those same processes, but make them efficient, bring them in and automate them with technology? And then can we look at other things that the interpreter has to deal with that they can't solve with on-site interpreting? And can we build features into the platform that allow for new advantages to be created out of the technology? And I'll mention a few of those. But everybody wants efficiency, everybody wants more business, and everybody wants quality of life. If your profession is difficult, if you have to sit in traffic, if you have a lot of downtime, if you have trouble getting new business, if you get jobs in other cities that you can't take, all of those things create quality of life issues for you as a professional. And the great news is that a technology platform can help solve a lot of those challenges. One thing that has become apparent talking to a lot of you is that there's this term in your industry called VRI, video remote interpreting. And we all felt compelled to sort of put a flag in the ground here and say, you know, video remote interpreting is a utility. It's a function. It's a way of connecting an interpreter to a client in another location. What we're proposing is that there's a bigger picture here. We are sort of sticking our flag in the ground saying we really need to talk about a platform, a mobile video interpreting platform. And this is platform in a bit of a different sense than was talked about yesterday in terms of a social platform. This is a business platform, a technological business platform that is end-to-end what you do day to day in your business. So I hope the next slide isn't too self-promoting, but I wrote a slide. I'm going to just preface this. I wrote a slide to say, that's the best way to explain to a large group in a few bullets what is inside of one of these things. And we kind of knocked it around and we did a few iterations. And we said, you know, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So here is what an interpreter's view of our platform looks like. And what you can see here is, and I hope you can see it well enough, this is what an interpreter would log into. And here are the major components of a platform. You think about what you go through in an interpreting engagement, and all of those things, or a lot of those things, should be represented here in terms of abilities or functions. Number one, you can see this, if you can read it, in the middle at the top, My Opportunities. Those are job opportunities coming in from the outside world through folks downloading our iPhone or our iPad app, saying, I need a Spanish to English interpreter tomorrow at 3 o'clock, and that becomes an opportunity. We have a matching process that then looks across all of the Spanish to English interpreters that we have vetted onto the platform and say, where's the best match? Who can fill this? Whose calendar is free? Who has the legal specialization that client is looking for? An interpreter can then engage with that opportunity, get matched up to it, and then it becomes what we call a session. This is a job assignment. That drops into another area where you can manage all your future committed jobs that you're looking at and that you are going to do through the platform. These jobs are either ones that come from the outside or ones that you have created by inviting your clients onto the system. So you are allowed to go and say, look, next time a client comes and says, you know, I've got a job in Charlotte that I would like you at. Well, I don't fly to Charlotte, or I'm busy, or it's across town and the logistics don't work, but I can do it remotely and invite the client to it. That client becomes your client, your private client on the system, and their jobs now feed into your master schedule. Of course, then when the job starts, both parties, the interpreter and the clients, are on the system, and there's a video remote interpreting platform built into it. So that's where we would plug in our VRI. A lot of conversation at this conference around the quality of video. I've heard a lot of concern about, hey, you know, what's the state technologically of video chat out in the marketplace? And the reference point is things like Skype, it's things like FaceTime, and the reality is that the technology is, thankfully for all of us, really progressing fast here. Google has put out a new platform called WebRTC, not to get too geeky on you guys, and that's the backbone of this. The last piece is that feedback and payment. Both of those things are almost instant at the end of you doing an interpretation assignment on Capiche. Meaning, the client, session ends, the client gets a review screen, says, hey, that was a great experience, I give it 5 stars, here's some comments for the interpreter, which then get back to the interpreter. And the client, if they come in from the outside, can then link themselves, can create a network effect with that interpreter, so that in the future, if they come in 5 weeks later for another interpretation assignment, that job will go directly to that interpreter rather than the larger pool. Payment, almost instant. We have clients' credit card on file. They're docked for the price of the session, and remittance is made to the interpreter within a few days. So there's a lot more to it. I know I'm out of time, but one last thing just to think about as you think about this. There are things that you can do with technology that you can't do in the real world, and I'll give you an example. One part of the system is, let's say you wake up and you're committed to a job at 2 o'clock that afternoon, and you're sick. And you're so sick that there's no way you can do the job. Well, today you scramble. You start calling around. You call the agency. You call your friends. You call other interpreters. And you try to figure out who's going to not disappoint that important client of yours. Within Capiche, you can instantly you have a network of interpreters that are your trusted interpreters, and you can have that job backfilled by putting it out in an automated way to your network of interpreters. That is a pain point within the industry that we've seen that we think is just one example of many that inside these platforms you can think. Last thing I'll say is that we are looking for feedback. We really, and we've talked, I think, almost all of you at this point, but if any of you are interested in participating in our beta, please come see us at the booth or go to capiche.pro and register there, and we'll be in touch. And thank you very much.